Okay, everything's recording, Tom.
So,
You're good.
yeah.
Everything looks. The levels are good.
Yeah, check.
You
1,
got
2, fuck. 1, fuck,
got your
fuck.
popcorn machine recording in the background.
Yep. Yeah.
All
Yep.
right, cool. All right, so on 3 we clap. 1, 2, 3.
Perfect.
Sure, hopefully.
That was, it sounded like it was our most perfect sync yet.
I don't know how you can tell,
By hearing when you clap.
but I can't hear. All right, I'll take your word for it,
I
Tom,
can
because I
definitely
can
hear
never
your
hear when
clap.
you clap. I never hear your clap whatsoever.
So today I wanted to talk about, like, I don't, by the way, this shouldn't be the episode just yet. We should spend, 5-10 minutes talking just to get into the flow. But I wanted to talk about, when artists, just advice for artists who are literally, picking up the pencil for the first time, or, taking art seriously for the first time. Maybe kind of like Pecco, who's like, I've always drawn, but, I'm only just starting to take it kind of seriously.
Yeah. Or Lovetica. I mean, truth be told, they literally said in their episode they didn't take their art seriously until it was kind of, taken away from them. And then they realized, that was an actual form of income that they were making.
But I guess that, the difference is, people who don't really know how to draw versus, I don't know. There's a difference there between, what Pecco is and, what Lovetica was.
But they're two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, they're both interesting to talk about.
Yeah, we could talk about that. Yeah. All right. So, but when you say that, logistically, Tom, you're talking about a brand new starting out artist that has no fucking idea.
We can go a few directions with it. We can go people who've never touched a pencil before. We can go people who have been doodling but don't have are only just starting to realize, hey, I kind of want to go further with this. And maybe we could also talk about people like Lovetica who are they're extremely, because I guess what I meant by taking it seriously was taking it seriously as a craft versus taking it seriously as a career, where
as a business,
someone like Pecorino is they've only just started taking it seriously as a craft. They're starting to put in effort to make it look better and improve. Whereas Lovetica already had taken it seriously as a craft and started taking it seriously also as a business.
Yeah, I guess there's stages to it, huh?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, we can talk about that. Hell yeah.
So
you want to lead the podcast, Tom?
I'm trying to think of how to start that discussion.
Just don't overthink it.
Mm-hmm.
You're also drawing, which doesn't lend itself well to being able to conversate on the fly.
I think that a lot of artists, we could just fade in and just fucking talk about this and go from there.
Do it.
I think that a lot of artists, I don't know, a lot of people are intimidated by drawing, and they overthink things a lot, and they go, how do I learn to draw? What guides should I follow? What books should I read? When, really the way to start is just by fucking drawing like crazy. That's how I learned to draw. I've still barely used any, if I counted the number of hours I've spent watching, art tutorials online, it might be 1 or 2. The time I've spent reading books, it might be 3, and 2.5 of those would be the animated survival kit. The way that you, and I'm not saying that those are invalid. You should read books. You should watch tutorials. I don't, because it doesn't mesh with my brain. But I should. I want to start reading more. But you don't need those, and those aren't a productive place to start. You know what I mean? It's kind of like if you were I want to become a quantum physicist, and the first thing you pick up is fucking Newton's Principia or something. It's too dense. It's too much for you to handle. You gotta start with Algebra 1 and work up from there. A lot of people will start trying to draw, and they'll immediately watch some crazy tutorial about here is how to draw a body. You draw 12 rectangles up here, and then connect them all into cubes, and then you connect those cubes to circles over here. And it's just this is too much. They'll either try to apply it and end up with a spider web of lines and not know why it doesn't look good, or they'll just be this is too much and quit.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen both of those happen a lot of times to a lot of people.
Yeah, it's yeah, starting out as an artist can be very difficult in general, just because of the like vast avenue. Because quite literally, the world is your oyster when it comes to art. There's not many barriers to entry at all when starting out. And I guess the biggest problem with that is the learning how to narrow your scope so that you can focus in on improving skills that matter overall, right? That's why I know everyone always gets pissed off when I say like, doing still lifes is actually important. But when I'm saying you do still lifes, that's when you do it like that's when you start doing art for the very first time. It's not something you just like keep on doing until you die. It's literally just there as like a
Mhm.
simple starting off point to be like, just look at this image, try to copy it, try to figure out the shading, the line art, the
Yeah.
fucking shadows, and it's just like the reason still lifes are so important is because they're the foundation on which everything can be built upon,
I,
because you are learning how to like build stuff.
I think that there's a lot of potential starting points like that. Like, I don't think that
Mm-hmm.
there's one, like, still lifes are the best place to start. I think that, like, there's many like that, but still lifes probably work
Oh
for a
yeah.
lot of people. Like, for me,
Mm-hmm.
the starting point was drawing cartoon characters I liked. When I was very little, that's why I'm a character artist now, primarily. I mostly draw characters. I don't do
Mm-hmm.
much of, like, inanimate objects and stuff, though I want to start doing that more. Um, when I was really little, I would draw like fucking Aang and Sly Cooper, and I vividly remember holding my dad's laptop on its side, putting a piece of paper over it on Google Images and tracing a picture of Vegeta, and being like, "Look at what I
Mm-hmm.
drew! It's so cool!" And then it just kind of it grew over time into me doodling like my own characters or like figuring out, how to draw like anime characters. And then that expanded into me going, okay, let me understand this on a deeper level and figure out forms and shapes and like construction and everything. Uh,
Yeah. It
but
it's
like
definitely
I'm just saying, there's a lot of ways to get there. But I'm not putting down still lifes. I'm sure if I had started
yeah.
there, that would have also helped me. And it's probably an easy way
Yeah,
to
and like
start.
yeah, and like I said, and like Tom said earlier, there is multiple ways, because like still lifes were just one of the few things that I learned when starting out doing art, because a blueprint work was also the second thing I learned,
Mm-hmm.
which is handy in the sense of, like I said earlier in a couple of podcasts, where it's just handy to be able to create something in a flat image and then be able to realize what it is going to be in like the full scale real life. And that's really handy, especially when it comes to like 3D modeling or stuff like that. Being able to understand the scale and scope of what you're making is extraordinarily handy. And but like starting out as an artist is like, it's like the equivalent of like when you play fucking like any of those open world games like fucking Breath of the Wild or some shit, where it's like
Mm-hmm.
you just see this vast swath of like literally anything you can do, but the problem is nobody tells you what to do. And so you just end up walking around and doing shit. And what can end up happening is you do something different compared to what the vast majority of people do. And then the moment you see someone else do it differently, you're like, holy shit, I had no fucking idea you could fucking do that. That's ridiculous.
I still
Masking
get that
layers? I had no idea those
sometimes.
existed. you know? Or like seeing someone use vector lines for the first time, you're like, what the hell? What's this? What? You can erase stuff like instantly and then like it doesn't affect the line? That's crazy. And it's like, yeah, because that's what it allows you to do that with that specific tool.
I
And
get stuff like
so,
that stylistically a lot. Like, I'll see someone
mhm.
draw, like, an eye some way or an arm some way and be like, oh my god, that looks so cool. And I'll, like, copy it and do it that way. Uh, in,
Yeah,
like, my art for, like, the next week or something.
you'll just have that. Yeah. I mean, I do the same thing too, to a lesser extent, where it's more like I try to learn the forms of like basic anatomy for different art styles, if that makes sense. So like the big thing I've been learning right now is the chibi art style, right? And the biggest thing with that one is learning how to simplify things, and you've probably seen it in some of the thumbnail art that's been going around right now, because I've been trying to use that when it comes to making thumbnail art, because it's it's very handy to use when it comes to more simplistic stuff that you're not people who come on YouTube and look at the thumbnails are looking at them for like a microsecond, right? So they don't need to be like vivid. They just need to, be a little bit eye-catching, and then the rest of the content should be like supported based on what the video actually is. Like the thumbnail's just eye candy, right? So when you know what you're making and what it's used for, that can really help kind of make the scope narrow a bit and make it more like fine-tuned to what you're actually trying to work on. Because, like, at the end of the day, I'm not going to make a 4K image for a thumbnail that has to be HD, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to get cropped. It's going to get minimized. Something's going to happen, and it's not going to be the original vision. That's another thing you need to look out for, I guess, starting out, is what your original vision is. And truth be told, I think me and Tom can both agree on this. When you're starting out drawing, chances are high that your, like, imagination outweighs the skill you have to put pen to paper. That just tends to be what it is. And I don't know, what's your experience with that, Tom, where it's like you have grandiose ideas but you just don't even have like physical abilities to do it yet?
I don't know, like it's weird because I've had that for so long with so many things that like that's actually a problem I really need to solve, so I can't give great advice on it. It's like I've gotten to a point where I've run into those walls so many times that mm-hmm. I've gotten used to just not doing it. Like, if I go, oh, this is hard, I'll just move on and do something else. I rarely am able to think of, like, okay, well, how do I break this up into bite-sized pieces? Like, comics are a great example, because I really want to make comics, but often when I start, I'm like, I don't know where to start at all. And then I'm just like, I'll just start drawing the first page, and then I'll draw the second page, and then I'll draw the third page, and then I'll draw the fourth page, and then I'll just do it like that. But, like, I just get frozen on the first page, and I can't think of anything. I'm like, well, maybe I should do a sweeping shot of, like, the city that this story takes place in. But then I'm like, well, I can't draw cities yet. Like, I haven't learned that skill. Mm-hmm. So if I did that, it would look like shit. So what else could I do? And then I just sit there with my head in my hands until I move on, just draw my characters doing something funny instead.
Yeah, that's a big problem I think a lot of people have just in general, where it's like, there's a difference, right? Because there's two philosophies, right? There's one where it's like you're doing the thing you're trying to learn, and then you fail or you suck at it, so then you go back and do the thing you're kind of good at and that you like doing. And then hopefully what you should do is go back to the hard thing and keep on keeping on. But another thing, which is what Tom does, according to him, is he doesn't even get started on the hard thing, gets overwhelmed by it, and then moves on to doing the stuff he knows he can accomplish. Which, there's no shame in that, right? Because at the end of the day, Tom's an amazing artist who's able to draw really fast and able to do these very good character sketches, as well as just, put pen to paper, which is a lot more than I can say for most artists who don't even just draw in general, but they think like, I'm an artist, I draw like once a month when I'm feeling good about it. It's like, okay, but
I mean, to be fair, there is merit to that kind of artist where like they post very rarely, but it's all very, very well rendered, like amazing stuff.
Well, that's a completely different ballpark.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm talking about the artist. Yeah, I'm talking about like the fledgling artist that doesn't have the endurance or like the patience for the craft yet, because that's what happens with everything, right? Like, if I try to learn to do something new that I don't know how to do, chances are it's going to take me a lot more time to do the book learning side of things rather than actually doing the thing itself, which is fine. But the problem and the kind of end road you end up in, especially if you're either like me or Tom, because I'm no exception to the rule, right? When I start to study something, I get really obsessed over the studying aspect and not actually the doing aspect.
Yeah,
and so
that's me when I try to learn code. I'm like, I blitz through like the course and I get really good at using all the like things it teaches you. But, like, it's almost like I gamify it too much in my brain where I just turn it into a puzzle game. And then when I actually sit down to create something new, I'm like, what do I do? It's like the
Mm-hmm.
difference between, you know what it is? It's the difference between being really, really good at Portal 2 and being really, really good at making Portal 2 maps.
Yeah, and I guess to go in on that, the thing that not a lot of people talk about when it comes to studying is like there's like I think it's like 3 or 4 stages of studying, which is like the first one is being able to like sit down and look at the thing that you're
Mm-hmm.
studying. The second one is being able to like write down the thing you're studying or to at least acknowledge what it is. The third thing is being able to like explain it to someone else, the thing that you're studying. And then the fourth thing is being able to not only explain it to someone, but then use those proofs and concepts in things that you can make on your own, which is, in the most simplest terms, right? It's like math, where it's like you understand what one is, you understand what the symbol plus means, and you understand how to put. You understand what 1 plus 1 equals. You understand that equals 2. But then the real challenge is, do you know how to make your own math problem that is 1 plus 2 equals 3, right? That's what really matters, is that fourth element of being able to not only reteach it but like tool it to what you need it to do. And that's the same thing with coding, that's the same thing with art, that's the same thing with just about everything that humans have been trying to learn in memoriam. And it can be very daunting to get to that fourth or even that third step of being able to explain it to someone else, especially if you're like an artist who doesn't even like interact with people or doesn't like talk to people, or you're just stuck in your own little shack making art, which is fine. But if you can't like if you can't communicate with someone about your art with words, then it's going to be extraordinarily hard to then teach someone your art, or even just like teach yourself what that art is doing, like how you can like, because everyone forgets how to do a concept, right? But being able to like put the writing down of what the concept you know how to do is like, it's so valuable. It's ridiculous. That's why we have written languages. It's so that you can transfer this knowledge not only back to yourself when you forget, but to others around you. And that's what you need to do as an artist starting out, is being able to rework these concepts and being able to explain them to an artist starting out, which is why this Discord server is super handy. Not to plug it or nothing, but the fact that there's a whole group of people here being able to explain like why this line doesn't look good, or here's a concept you might not have known, or something like that, and being able to re-explain things they do in their own art to someone else who's trying to start out doing art is it's really handy, because it's re fortifying those concepts not only to the person learning them for the first time, but for the person that's actually doing them, right?
Yeah. And you know what?
Yeah.
Something. This is just something I want to mention because it came up today. Not actively, but just in my head, I was thinking about this. So I've always a long time ago when I was younger, I kind of got fed up with compliments, and I still hold this. Like I still think that a community that is only willing to compliment you is not a useful community, because you'll never know what you're doing right or wrong. But
Mm-hmm.
I I've kind of changed that opinion a little bit and realized, like, well, compliments can still be very valuable when the person who's giving you the compliment has something real to say. And it was because someone who joined today, well, not joined today, they've been here for at least like month, Goji, who's an incredible artist. I posted a couple of my drawings, and he mentioned that he loved like how expressive and dynamic they were, and I was like, oh, like that note and like a couple other things he mentioned about it, like how the sketchiness like brought out the energy and things like that, made me realize like something about my art that I hadn't really thought about in a while. How like, I didn't think about the fact that, oh, my faces are all like really expressive, and I like stretch the mouths and eyes around in weird ways to like get things out of them. I just always did that naturally, and I'm sure I'd been told that before. I'm sure it just kind of like
Mm-hmm.
reawoke that memory and made me think like I should focus a bit on that again and like do that actively, and that'll help me a lot. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just
Yeah.
that compliments, they can be useful as long as the person who's giving them is telling you it's not just this looks good, it's this looks good because.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, because there's like I'll say this much. I think we've all run into this: the artist that doesn't know how to take a compliment, or rather,
Yeah.
artists that don't want compliments. Right? They
Mm-hmm.
want to improve, and so every time they do get a compliment, it's like, this is a waste of time for me. Why am I even bother reading
Mm-hmm.
this? But I'll say this much: if you know how to compliment someone correctly, what it'll be a compliment and it will be a critique. And a critique doesn't necessarily mean poking and prodding at the bad thing. It could be showing and enhancing the good
Yeah.
things too. Um, and like Tom said earlier with those examples, what you really need to do when you're starting out as an artist, and this will help you eventually build up that eye that you need to understand what you're looking at, is when someone says something about your art, you should really hone in on what those words mean and what are they applied to, right? So when someone says to some, like Tom's art, your expression is really good, what does that mean? Because it can mean a lot of things. It can mean the way the body shows expression, whether it's like movement or like it dancing around, or it has like that energy of like, there's like a big muscle guy and it just explodes with power because that's what's the intent behind the art. Or when they say emotion, do they mean like the facial features and stuff like that? It tends to be when they're giving you that compliment, they describe where that power, that emotion, that whatever is coming from. And then you can hone in on why that is good about your art and why you need to apply that to somewhere else. So if someone says Tom's expression is really good, with the facial features and everything being stretched out, that could also mean to Tom, what if I applied those same concepts but to like body parts or to this or to the hair, and I used those same concepts but in drastically different ways to enhance the art completely,
Yeah.
so that not only is the face expressive but the body is expressive.
Yeah. Exactly. It's these kinds of things. Like, I think that things are always transferable between different like areas. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
you can take critiques about faces and apply them to like I guess that's another skill of trying to figure out like, well, what is transferable, because it's not, you can't do it to everything. It's like, for example, if someone says, say, line confidence is weak, or like if someone says like, oh, you need better line confidence, that's probably a thing that applies to all of your art, not just like
Yeah.
this one drawing of a face. Whereas when they just say like, oh, the way you draw eyelashes is really cute, I like that style for them, you can be confident that that was only applying to the eyes. You could like
Mm-hmm.
apply the style to other parts of the body, like, say you do really spiky eyelashes, you might think, well, maybe I should do really spiky like other parts to kind of contrast that. Give, if you have a girl that has huge sharp eyelashes, maybe give her a spiky dog
Spiky
collar,
hair.
big, yeah,
Or
spiky
yeah.
hair, a big like wristbands with spikes coming out of them, shoulder pads with spikes coming out of them. Just make a pointy
Mm-hmm.
character with pointy features to kind of go with that thing.
To
Uh,
enhance.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
And I think it.
go
Yeah.
ahead.
I was gonna say, to add on to that. So what I was kind of coming up to a conclusion with that is, there's definitely a line, right, where it's the, because this really hones in on what Tom was saying earlier about him wanting to be more attentive when it comes to like doing what was complimented to him, which was the emphasis on his stretchy faces and stuff like that. And there's definitely a difference between intent and just doing your art, right? Because when Tom was drawing his art, he didn't realize that his intentions subconsciously were doing kind of those stretchy, kind of like, expressive faces. But when someone like actively pinpoints the exact thing that they like about his art, and then he realizes the things that he knows intuitively, it allows him to not only have more intention behind the art that he's doing, but to like reinvigorate it or like rework it. And when you get that kind of compliment or just perspective on your art, it's really handy to learn, just like how to like, not exactly ride the line, but know how to use those just descriptor words to allow you to enhance your art, but not to like exaggerate your art,
Yeah,
right? Um,
Don't
and
don't let
that
it.
can sound,
That's yeah. That's
yeah.
like don't let it consume you. If you get compliments about something, I don't know. Oh, I love how you draw boobs. Don't be like, well, I'm gonna draw boobs forever now because that's what people like. Use it
Hmm.
as like fuel to make things better. Don't let it like control your art.
Yeah. It can be really tempting to just like stick in a lane because that's what you're good at, but that's what makes I in my opinion a lazy artist slash someone who's not willing to go past, who's not willing to climb the hill, right? Who's just content with, climbing the mountain, being like, yeah, I can keep climbing this mountain, it's really easy, I do it all the time. But it's like it takes real gusto, I'll say, to be like, I might fall off this mountain, but I gotta try because I'm just tired of running
Mm-hmm.
up and down this hill all the time.
By the way, Milkshake brings up a good question in the chat. My friend is trying to draw for the first time, likely never drawn almost anything before. What would you recommend them to do? Which,
Draw what they like.
yeah, I mean, that's a good question because that's what the
Hmm.
topic is supposed to be, but I don't think we talked much about. Most of the stuff we're saying applies best to people who've already drawn a bit. So it'd
I
be good to
guess
delve into
I
that.
think it's really hard to like pinpoint the starting out point because, like, truth be told, right, if someone genuinely wants to make art a part of their life, whether in this can apply to anything, right, is just making the time for it. And if you don't make the time for it, then it tends to mean that you never wanted to actually do it to begin with. Like, does that make sense?
I would
Like,
disagree. I think that it's something that people will want to do, but they won't like realize how much they want to do it or like how much it'll mean to them until they start doing it. You can't know like how you'll
maybe.
like something until you actually, sit down, put the pencil to the paper, and then you won't even need to make time for it. You'll just do it because you like it. Once
Mm-hmm.
you know that, it's just hard when you are starting and you don't know if you like it and you don't know if you want to go further with it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing with art is like it's so just varied and like inspiration, right? Because you can do anything on art and be inspired by just about anything to, fuel that creative flow. But like, it's really hard just to be like, you know what you should do? You should draw Bakugan characters because I think they're badass.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, it's like, but that's not how that works. It's like you need to tell your friend or just yourself in general if you're trying to figure out how to draw is what inspires you to even pick up a pencil and draw to begin with, because if you can't, you need to find that. For me, recently it was Tom's art, truth be told. We've talked about this a few times on the podcast, but for the longest time I wasn't drawing for like a year because I got demotivated by very mean people. But then when I saw Tom's art, I got re-inspired again. I was able to like, start my engines back up and make stuff not only that I liked, like making fan art for Tom, but also making art that I wanted to see in the world, much like this podcast. But like, yeah, it's you just need that first fucking spark that's like, this is what I need to draw because this is what I like. And then the rest is history, because if you just keep on chugging along
Yeah.
being like, I'm just fucking jazzed to draw, it's like that's what you need. You need to be jazzed to draw.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the practical application of that is the best way to start is by starting.
Hmm.
It's just pick up a pencil and put the pencil on the paper and just draw what it is you want to draw. There's no good like when you usually I would say like learn construction, learn anatomy, learn proportions, but when you've never drawn anything, the best way to start is by disregarding all of that. Disregard all the technicals, disregard all the construction and everything like that, and just put your pencil on the piece of paper and try to draw what it is you want to draw, and then keep doing that. Because you're not going to take that long, right? It's doodles. You're
Hmm.
doodling. You're not. You shouldn't be thinking too hard about it. You should just be trying to create things. Like, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad, you're just making things onto a page. And then once you've started to get a feel for what you're drawing, even if it's just messy, almost stick figure level art, then you have like a foundation to be like, okay, now how do I build from here? It's kind of
Yeah.
like I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good analogy. If you're learning to ride a
Well,
bike, like the first step isn't learn how to ride a bike, it's get a bike.
it's not only get a bike, it's learn how to get a bike with training wheels on,
Mm-hmm.
because you can't just ride a bike without training wheels. You can, but you'll probably fall down a lot more than most.
Mm-hmm.
It's knowing how to limit your scope with the training wheels so that you can complete a lap around the park, so that you can complete that first drawing. It's understanding that yes, things are going to get rough. Things are going to get messy. Yeah, you're going to fall down. But at the end of the day, you were able to draw a thing, and now you can work on the next thing, and the next thing, and then the next thing, right? And this is going to be a weird side tangent, but Tom, do you know the guy who created Death Note?
No. But elaborate if you
Well,
can.
yeah, so I'm not going to pronounce his name because I am not Japanesey and I don't know how to pronounce Japanese names. But he
It
did
was
make a
Hideo
cool,
Kojima.
yeah, the very same. But he made another manga that is also extraordinarily well known and is very good, called Bakuman, and that's how I'll pronounce it. And it literally is it's sort of like a cutesy anime, which is surprising. Well, it's this cutesy manga first off, and then it became an anime. But it's this really good story about what we're kind of talking about, like from the start to the end of what it means to be like an artist, and specifically what it means to be a manga artist. And it's very fascinating reading through this manga or just watching it, because it it's just a really good kind of representation of like how things work. And even though it's a little bit fast paced, when you're like, oh, in 12 episodes, like the guy gets this far, it's like 12 episodes is more like 5 years, we'll say, like in
Mm-hmm.
general, if you're trying to like make it in the art world. um there's also a really other good anime that kind of describes what we're talking about now. And the reason I recommend them is because they're not necessarily like a good representation of like, oh, this is what I should be as an artist. It's more like they show what we're talking about when it means like that creative like start and that spark in your life. Because not everyone's gonna be fucking, happy go lucky or start when they're like 16 or 12, or, some people become creative or want that creative outlet when they're like in their 40s or if they're fucking 50s. You see this a lot too with like older people, where it's like they go to college when they're like in their 60s, because it's like, well, now I need something in my life that gives me not only purpose, but something that can like bring joy back to my life. And that's what art
Mm-hmm.
should be. It should be a joyous activity with struggle and strife, but at the end of the day, that's what kind of makes it all
Yeah.
worth the while.
You know, another thing that I'll say is a piece of like concrete advice, something that is like, actionable, which is I think what a lot of people want. Watch people draw. Like watch people's process. Something that helped me, like this wasn't when I first started drawing, but it was pretty much exactly when I first started taking drawing seriously as a creative outlet and not just like something I did with my hands. Was when I watched the Pokemon Art Academy series on fucking Game Grumps. It was Rubber Ross and Barry Kramer. Um, it was just them sitting down playing this DS game called Pokemon Art Academy. But like, it started as like a typical Let's Play, but after like the first 2 or 3 episodes, it just morphed into this like 2 to 3 hour long podcast where they would just doodle on this program, making like really good art on like a DS, and having to do things very simply and show all their work because of how simple the DS is. You'll see all the construction they do, all the like paths they take, and one of them has never drawn before the series and learns while he's doing it. So there's so many
Mm-hmm.
elements to this series that is so good for new artists, where like on one hand you're seeing the struggle of someone like learning how to draw for the first time and seeing how their thought processes are working, and you might be able to relate to that and say, "Oh, I get it. He's doing what I'm doing, and I can see how I can improve from there." And then the next episode, you're seeing Ross, who is like an animator, doing like his art style and doing construction, and you can go, "Oh, and now I see how to apply what he's doing to my work to get better." And it doesn't have to be this Pokemon Art Academy series, obviously. It's just watching people draw in general, especially when there's a disparity in the strengths of the artists, is incredibly useful, because you're not just seeing the final product, you're seeing how the final product emerged, and it's much easier to apply that to your own work when you have that to start from.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think what we're trying to really get at here is we're just trying to find avenues or things or media in general that you can watch that are kind of, art centric, that you can not necessarily latch onto, but like get that like oomph, like that's good, that's some good shit. Like I need to do this because these people are doing it and they're having so much fun doing it. And it's not to say like art is the end all be all of like happiness. It's like you can find any creative outlet anywhere. But when it comes to art, you just need to find anything that inspires you, whether it be like drawing flowers or like you decide to start picking up art because you love fucking picking mushrooms and you love just how they look because they're all unique. And so you're like, I'm going to bring out my sketchbook and instead of just taking down this mushroom, I'm going to actually like draw it and like have it for reference for other people, and it's going to look cool and neat. Like there's so many things you can do with art that just lend itself to not only being creative but also like utility based, that there's really no reason not to get good at art, because it's a visual medium that allows you to show more with less words. And I think it's more apparent when you realize like how many like presidents were actually like pretty decent artists who would make doodles in conference rooms and shit, because you kind of need to have that like ability to put pen to paper, like we've been saying, and just like
mathematicians a lot.
have ideas. Yeah, that too. Yeah,
a lot
just
of the
anyone in general.
A lot of the most famous mathematicians, you always hear stories about like, they got bored during classes because they were smarter than the professors, so they just like doodled on pieces of paper.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's that one guy's name? Dirac? No, that wasn't Dirac, but whatever. There was some famous mathematician who like discovered this massive Ulam. That's what it is. It's Ulam spirals. He discovered this like whole field of mathematics because he was doodling during a lecture that he thought was boring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just knowing that, like, that's another thing, right? Doodling when you're boring is a clear indication that drawing means more to you than the things you're actually like spending money doing, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're going to college and all you're doing is doodling and you're not even like paying attention to the lecture and you're getting like C's and shit, maybe you should like refocus or rework what the things that like bring meaning to your life is, and it tends to be stuff like drawing. Because I was a college guy and I wasn't even going to college for art. I was going for like technical college. I was going to maybe become a teacher because I like teaching people. I like it. That's one of the facets. I think that's what makes me, I think, a better artist than most, is being able to talk about art rather than just visually showing it, because visually showing art is nice, but being able to like describe and go through the processes is a lot more fascinating, in my humble opinion. And it lends itself for me specifically to improve not only my workflow, but like also just improve my ability to understand and recreate what's happening around me, whether that be the real world or someone else's art. And when I discovered that when I was going to college, that I was doing more art than I was actually doing like book studying, that's a kind of a clear indication, even though I wasn't paying attention to it at the time because I was more focused on trying to fucking pass college with C's. It's like, if I had like the older self me just fucking kick me in the rear and be like, you're wasting your time, just fucking skedaddle. You can find good paying jobs anywhere, but doing art is clearly the thing you want to do with your life. And it doesn't matter if you make money doing it or not, it's just what you want to do.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know.
exactly. Yeah, it's important to just do stuff that you think is fun. If you think art is fun, then do it. If you
Hmm.
like, even if you like the idea of art, because I feel like there's probably people who like the idea of drawing, and then they'll try it, and they'll be like, this isn't like that." They're not enjoying it for one reason or another. I think it's important for those people to either keep at it or find a different artistic medium that covers the same want, the same idea. Like,
Hmm.
it would be cool to draw comics, and then you try to draw comics and you don't really do well. It's like, okay, well, is there a different artistic medium that can fulfill that? If there is, then try that out, and if there isn't, then keep trying drawing. Just keep at
Yeah.
it, because maybe the reason you don't like it is because you just haven't done it enough, and you like don't understand the reality. I mean, that was definitely a thing for me. I remember. I actually remember the day when I was much younger, where for the first time ever, I sat down with a visual in my head, and then I put my pencil on my paper, and I drew exactly what I wanted. Like, it was exactly what I visualized. It was I mean, obviously, if I look back at that drawing today, I would probably say like, "Wow, this looks like shit." But to me at the
Hmm.
time, it was like I'd never gotten that close to what my vision was, and that was the like clicking point where I was like, wow, this is really cool. I can have an idea in my head and then make it real on like the paper. Uh, and if I had never had that moment, I probably wouldn't be as enthusiastic about art, even though I still liked it at the time.
Hmm. That's how it is with most things, and I don't, because I think a lot of people have this weird pressure in their head when it comes to like starting doing art. We literally have this with one person that joined recently, where they're getting back into art, and they have the pressure of like their family not being too, they're not too stoked about like
Mm-hmm.
an artist in the family, because a lot of people, I'll just say this in general, it seems to be that like being creative is nice,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't pay the bills, right? And that's another thing, it doesn't have to fucking pay the bills. You can be good at a job and then do creative stuff, not even on the side, but also as your main thing, but still have plenty of time to make money. That's Here's a little life example of this working out perfectly. Fucking Einstein, Einstein? Yeah, he was a brilliant mathematician, and literally he got a job teaching for 1 year. He fucking loathed it. He hated it, even though it was something he loved because he loves doing math. He fucking hated teaching. And
Mm-hmm.
so he got a fucking job at the postal office and did his
Yeah.
mathematicians as his main focus, and the fucking, mailing room was just something he did on
Yeah.
the side to create a living, life for himself,
He was a
and
patent
that
clerk,
worked for
right?
him. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's fucking perfect. He did his job well, and he did his fucking math career excellently because he wasn't distracted by having to, you know, do math as a way to make money and do math as a way to like prove his worth to the world, or just to have fun in the world because he liked doing math, right?
Yeah.
You can do the same thing with art. It's no different. You can do that with anything. Sometimes people just need a job to grind at so that they can just
Mm-hmm.
do the things that they are passionate about. And that
Yeah,
just
and
works
like,
out. Especially if it's a government job, because you get a lot of
mm-hmm.
cool side benefits.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So look
If
out for
you're
that.
willing to like, I know that not a lot of people are willing to do this. It would scare the hell out of me because I like the idea of having the ability to pivot. But if you can just be like, yeah, I enjoy this like job, get a trade job or something. Get like become like an electrician or a carpenter or something, and then do your little 10 years of whatever, so that you end up in an office position in like a union or something, and then you never have to do like the physical labor again, and you have plenty of time to think about your art and your
Hmm.
like whatever.
Yeah, that's extremely important, especially when you're really young, I'll say. Because if you don't do the heavy lifting when you're young and you're not breaking your back or slipping a disc, they are going to have to do the heavy lifting when you're in your 30s. And then it's going to really take a toll on your body. And it's just like this progressive stuff. Especially if, like, I'll say this much: I fucking loathe the military, but I'll say this much: they have the best benefits around. And if you go to the military at the youngest age possible, which is like 18, you could do even fucking basic training and shit before 18. you're just on your way to like, working like 20 years, and then you're fucking set for life after working 20 years in the
Mhm.
Coast Guard, in the military, in anything. I highly recommend the Coast Guard because you don't have to go to like fucking far off places with that shit. You're just
You're not
always
going
sticking
to
to the coast,
war.
those Great Lakes. Yeah. And they need people in the fucking Coast Guard. They're having fucking shortages literally everywhere. So you're good. You'll be more than fine. But yeah, and the thing is, when you work for something like the Coast Guard or any government facility, it tends to be when you're young, you do all the weird heavy lifting stuff that is just required because you have a young, virile body. But then you transition slowly into something more, easygoing, whether it's being like logistics or hiring or fucking, be calling people when someone's out in the sea and they need fucking help. It's like that's all it is. That's how the transition of jobs tend to work out. And when you do get that office job, it lends itself to allow you to do more creative stuff. And I'll say this much, you're still able to do creative stuff when you're doing like more, heavy lifting slash stuff. It's just, depending on your endurance, sometimes, building that endurance up as a young person and then having to have the mental fortitude of like, now I'm going to draw after doing all this dumb fucking labor shit is kind of hard, but it is possible. I'm fucking the pure example of that. Like I throw boxes for like 40 hours out of the week, and yet I still have the ability to not only draw, but then fucking edit this podcast together and upload
Mhm.
it. And I'll say this much, it didn't happen overnight. It took me like a year to get good at my job to where I have the endurance for it, to where I have the ability to do art and rendering and stuff like that after the fact.
Yeah.
It's not like this overnight thing. You really have to gun for it and build it up and be like, I'm not gonna sleep even though it'd be handy to. I'm gonna draw now. It's like having that ability to understand that and like spend time on things that you like, even though it could be taxing on your body, um, is important to understand, as well as just understanding how you work and not overexerting yourself at the end of the day. Because if you
Yeah.
do pass out, then that's just more wasted time.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a balance to strike because, you know, if you have like 1% too much of like the hustle culture in your brain, you might hear that and be like, okay, I don't care how tired I am, I'm gonna spend like 3 hours drawing. What'll end up happening is you'll just start hating drawing because it feels like a
Mm-hmm.
punishment. It's like I had to work for 12 hours today and I spent 3 hours drawing and it made me exhausted. I hated all the time I was drawing, and because I wasn't sleeping, it made me too exhausted for the next day that I was also supposed to be working for another 12 hours in
Yeah.
a row, and now I just like hate drawing, and it feels like, even when I get to do it when I'm not working, it just feels the same. It feels like work. So you want to strike a balance. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's very good to be able to make yourself sit down and draw. I have a big problem with that, where sometimes I just will like be like, I don't really, I want to draw, but I'll just play some Elden Ring first. I want to do this stream, and I'll talk to some
That's
people, I'll pitch
bad,
some ideas
Tom.
around, and then I'll just end up
Bad
not
habits.
drawing. It is a bad habit.
Yeah.
I am getting a little bit better with it. The
Yeah.
podcast
Pro
is kind
tips
of
for
forcing me to be better with it because I draw every time I do the
yeah. You have
podcast.
to draw during the podcast. Hell yeah, baby. Yeah. That's another thing I'll say is there's ways to break those cycles like easily. So for me, right, I think this is like cut across the board, right? Especially if you do like a labor intensive job. If you like work 10, 12 hours and you sweating your ass off and you're disgusting, right? And then you go take a shower. Then after you take a shower, you're like, well, now I'm just gonna go to fucking sleep because I'm good, I'm clean, I'm gonna go hit the hay. And that's the fucking first flaw. When you get home from work, you shouldn't take a shower right away. You should start doing something that's also intensive, whether it be doing art or preparing for the next day. Like what? Because that's another thing you can do. You can metagame life where it's like, okay, I know for a fact that if I have to make my lunch in the morning, it's either going to be a shit lunch or I'm going to spend too much time making that lunch and then I won't have time for drawing. So it's all about understanding where your headspace is at each day. So if you know for a fact that you can't draw after work, sure as shit you can make a fucking sandwich after work for the
Mm-hmm.
next day. And then when you do wake up and you have that extra time, use that fucking 30 minutes of like fucking clairvoyance or just being able to like, drinking coffee and shit and getting your day started because you don't have to make your lunch the next day because you already made it, then it's like, hey, there's some time saved if you're really good at like, if you like drawing in the morning. Or if you're like me and you've learned to like just deal with it where it's like, I'm going to make my sandwich and then anytime I have left, I'll do some art and then I'll take a shower as a reward for myself. And then that builds that positive reinforcement stuff that's really handy when it comes to just anything in general. Being able to have that weird fucking monkey brain work for you instead of against you is super fucking handy. And I'll say this much: it's a hard fucking task to get into because you have to be self conscious about it,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is you're doing, and that's a hard ask for a lot of people, especially when you're young and you're just like, I can do anything. I have so much energy. I can do anything. It's like
Yeah.
eventually that well's gonna dry up. You need to build that endurance so that you have even more of it, so that when it starts to diminish, you're like back to factory like
Yeah.
mode, right? So it's not as depressing when you get older.
Mm-hmm. You got to get those gains, those art gains.
Mm-hmm.
What you should
That
do
endurance
is
game.
draw characters with huge muscles, and that will,
Yeah.
you know, manifest in you.
Manifest destiny. Right?
Yeah.
No, what you really should be doing is exercising. And when I say exercising, I think just taking like a fucking
Yeah.
mile walk
Go
or
for a
like an hour
walk.
long walk.
Set a destination
Because
that's near you. For me, it's Wawa. I'll
mm-hmm,
like, I have like a Wawa. It's about a half-hour walk away, about a half-hour walk back.
mm-hmm.
Uh, I'll just walk there sometimes and waste an hour on like a voice chat. And I don't do it enough, but if I did it more, I'm sure it would help keep me in shape a lot. Fill in
It
for the
would
days I'm
definitely,
not
Tom.
working.
Not only would it keep you in shape, Tom, but it would increase your fucking productivity. Is
Yeah.
all I'll say. Because that's always a constant in life. Is the more like blood flow you get just everywhere, the more physically active you are, the better you are just at everything. Like every facet of life, you're just inherently better at. And another
Also,
thing that will kind of work in on that, huh?
I was just gonna say, for me, it also like, it's a nice thing you know, if I go for a walk, I've done something, I've been active, and now that puts my brain in. It's very easy for me to be sitting down and playing Elden Ring or fucking flopping down in bed and sleeping and jerking off all day and shit. If I go for a
Gooning,
walk,
yeah.
yeah, gooning all day. If I go for a walk and I get home, my brain is in like doing shit mode, and so it becomes
Mm-hmm.
much easier to like walk around and do other things. And we mentioned in another podcast, like you don't want to like do productive things to avoid doing more productive things. Like, you know, the classic examples are going for a walk or cleaning your room. But if you
Yeah.
don't have something to do that's major, then it is good to just do those things because they need to be done anyway. Like for me, like
Mm-hmm.
when we're done with this podcast, I'm gonna go straight to sleep, and then the second I wake up in the morning, I'm gonna clean my room because it's like a disaster in here, and doing that will make me able to fucking think straight.
Yeah. And scheduling time for stuff like that is
Yeah,
always important so that when you're like, oh, I have to clean my room, it's like, no, you don't. You clean your room on Mondays. It's fucking Tuesday, dude. You already cleaned your room. That's a distraction. Clearly, the same thing with like laundry. It's like, oh, I should really do my laundry. It's like, no, you do your laundries on fucking Wednesday.
yeah,
Remember? Why are you doing your laundry now? It's like when you have those key like stone moments in life where it's like, yeah, sorry, man, I can't hang out because I'm cleaning my room or something like that, right? It's major incentive for you to not get distracted by other dumb shit
yeah,
that is clearly going to get done in the week because you've made it the task of the day. And that's the same thing with kind of walking for me, where it's like, I don't walk every day because at some days I work, and
yeah,
that's the utility of my body that's being used. I don't need to walk on those days, right? But when it comes to like not wanting to be fatigued at work, I'll walk on days that I don't have work, so I'm not like, my body's just not like, oh, you've been sitting on the couch for fucking 3 days straight, and now you have to go to work, which is physically demanding, and you're gonna feel like shit after the first day because you didn't exercise or stretch properly. And it's like, yeah, that kind of fucking blows. So the fact that I make an active effort to do these physically demanding things outside of the nature of me having to do them makes it easier in the long run for those days when I have to do those physically demanding things. It's no different everywhere else. And I'll say this much, it's really handy when you have a more loosey-goosey schedule when it comes to exercise, in the sense that, say you're a creative person that tends to get creative blocks pretty frequently, such as myself. It's really handy to be like, you know what, instead of just like switching the tablet off or watching a YouTube video, I'm gonna walk. I'm just gonna fucking walk and let my mind wander. And then that's when that creative spark happens after like an hour of walking. You're like, okay, I know what to do. And the reason that happens is because you're getting that good blood flow to your head, because you're not just sitting in front of your computer for 8 hours straight just staring at a fucking sun all day and destroying your eyes. So you think about it in those terms as well, where it's like you just need to fucking move your body just so that you can activate your brain more.
Yeah. It's important.
I mean, that's what I can say for most people just starting out. And I know it can sound like a lot, because frankly it is a lot, especially if you're like a couch potato who hasn't been doing much of anything with their life. Well, which is most teens.
That's me, but that's why walks are a nice way, because it's so easy. Like, it's very rare you're gonna, unless you're like and I'm very out of shape, so like, this is meaningful to say this for me. Unless you are unbelievably out of shape, or like you need like a walker or something, going for a walk, like a 30-minute to an hour walk, is not, you're not going to come home panting. You might come home sweating, and that's even like if it's the summer and it's hot outside.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good way to just get in some exercise and move around and like get out in the fresh air. Get into a big thing is getting into a new environment. Like, you're talking about all the physical aspects of it. I'm more thinking about like the mental aspects of it, and a big thing for me is I always do my best work when I'm in a new environment, if I'm in a new place. I don't know if you've seen this, but like, whenever I'm on vacation, I guess I don't go on vacation very often, so I doubt you'd notice it as a pattern, but I've noticed it over the years. If I'm on vacation, or I'm at a party, or even at the meetup, I'll draw really good stuff because I like the mix-up of like the environment. It's especially notable, and it doesn't happen much anymore, which is unfortunate, which is why I'm trying to like kind of force it sometimes, is my old boss, it was a different electrician than the one I work for now. He was really bad at scheduling things and like getting us work. So it was pretty often that I would go to a job and he'd be like, I don't know, replace this outlet. One outlet. Just replace that one outlet. I'm going to go get materials. And he drops me off, and then I am there for like 4 to 6 hours after I replace the outlet, and I'm just sitting there with literally nothing to do in a new environment. Usually some like really nice rich guy's house. And I brought my sketchbook with me when I worked for that guy. So I would just sit down in this blissful like place at like a bar table. I don't know why, but it's always bar tables. Those ones are the best for me. I love drawing on bar, like just bars. I don't know why. But anyway, so I'd be on this like bar table doodling for like 4 hours, and that's where some of my favorite stuff I've ever drawn came from. And the reason I bring all of that up is that going for walks creates like a simulacrum of that, because I'm walking around areas that I'm not usually in. I'm getting all this natural light, which that it's also tends to help me draw more. It's just like not direct sunlight, but like a little bit. It's sunny, but you're in the shade. I really like that setting.
Vitamin D, baby.
You know, all these things. Like, ultimately, I'll be going home to draw, unless I brought my sketchbook with me. But that's kind of a pain unless I got like a backpack or something. But I still got that mindset. Another thing I like to do is go to the library to draw sometimes. I have a couple libraries near me. I need to do that again. I did that like once and then just haven't gotten back to it, but I drew a lot of really good stuff when I did. But yeah, you know, going out, being active, but also changes of scenery, like all that kind of stuff can be very useful.
Yeah, because it's just your mind being like, whoa, there's so much cool shit happening. There's this, and this, and it's like, it's just firing off on all cylinders, where it's like, Yeah, now your brain's just not necessarily working in overdrive, but
Yeah.
it's like it's just having fun. And that's what you need for art, is to have fun.
Yo, I just
Honestly.
saw a homeless guy fight a pit bull for a piece of steak. This place is
Yeah,
awesome.
for a grilled cheese. It's great. But yeah, and there's a lot of like weird niche like things like getting sunlight
Mm-hmm.
and walking and blood flow and stuff like that, that all like sync up to allow for any human to be like happy and healthy. Cuz like nobody talks about this shit, but vitamin D is important because it literally releases chemicals in your body that make you happier. Seeing the sun makes you happier.
Yeah.
Like that's just that's just fucking chemicals at the end of the day.
It's just
And it's
monkey
like,
brain.
yeah, and there's a reason why fucking people in Alaska have to take vitamin D pills. Is because you don't get any of that shit for half of the year, and you get mad depressed if you don't take vitamin D supplements. And that's not to say you should take vitamin D supplements, because you really shouldn't, unless you're in extreme environments such as that.
Mm.
Um, any vitamin based like product is usually giving you too much vitamins and could actually lead to bad shit happening.
Or
But
it's just a scam
needless,
trying to scare old people.
yeah, yeah, but needless to say, there's a reason why doing human things makes humans happy, and that's what you need when you're kind of an artist who's not necessarily doing those things because you're like either locked up in your room with no sun, or you're just not moving around as much because you're just sitting in bed depressed or something like that. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, yeah, we've all been there, but the problem at hand is having to break that mediocrity state of just not doing anything, and actually just starting to implement small things in your life, in your day to day, like drawing, to make it like an important keystone, an important facet of your life that not necessarily revolves around it, but requires you to just improve yourself so that you can do it more, because it
Mm-hmm.
does bring you joy. And that could be, art could literally be anything. It could be any other like weird hobby or anything like that. Like that's what it means to like start to do something. It
Mm-hmm.
means giving enough attention and time and just dedication to the thing you are doing, to where you just do it and it becomes a normal part of your day. But yeah, that's all it takes. Takes a lot. Takes a lot of a little. A little of a lot.
Takes a lot of cum, a lot of piss, and a lot of sweat, blood, and tears.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah, and then eventually you'll be able to create a nuclear bomb
Mm-hmm.
with your art, much like Albert Einstein.
Yeah, it's a tech tree. You unlock the nuclear
Yeah,
bomb
it's a
at the
tech
bottom.
tree.
It goes
Yeah,
like
it's like Gandhi.
doodling, sketching, line art,
Nuclear fission.
rendering,
Yeah.
diplomacy, uh, fucking invasion tactics, tanks,
Yeah,
nuclear
keep going,
warfare.
keep going. This bit's funny. This bit's funny. Okay,
I
okay.
got to the end. You fucked it up.
Yeah, fuck you, Tommy. You're not allowed to be funny. I'm the only one on this fucking podcast that's allowed to be funny.
That
I'm the
was in
top
the
dog
contract.
here.
That
That
was in
was
the
the
contract that I signed, that it said, Tom, you're not allowed to be funny. You need to hand your jokes over to me under the table.
Well, they didn't say that specifically. Just say, well, I don't even want your jokes because they're not funny. So it doesn't even say that. But
But if you think of something
yeah.
funny, hand it to me under the table.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, find that fucking spark. You need that spark in your life. You just need a spark. You don't. It doesn't even need to be fucking big. It could be a fucking tangerine
Doesn't even
that
need to be Game
inspires you.
Spark.
It doesn't even need to be me doxing myself in every facet of my life constantly. So
do you not want people to know your first name?
No, I could care less. Yeah. But needless to say, another cool anime you can check out is Blue Period. That's a fun one if you want to like get inspired by art. And they have a lot of cool ideas and stuff in that I think are pretty handy for artists starting out. And it has a lot of good visuals for artists who start out and who are bad at art, because that's how it happens all the time. So yeah, check that out. Check that little cute anime out. If you like anime, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't like anime, it's still good because, unlike American cartoons, anime actually has emotion and feeling and like different things besides, haha, goofy character says fart word.
Not every
So, yeah,
American cartoon is Teen Titans Go.
Well, every American cartoon is either that or Bambi.
Some of them are Family Guy.
Yeah, some of them are Family Guy. Yeah. When are you going to be storyboarding for Family Guy, Tom? I was just curious about that.
I got hired a week ago because I was posting my like Meg porn drawings, and Seth MacFarlane started DMing me like every day, and I was like, Seth, I don't have time, man. I don't have time for this. He was like, please, you need to work for me, please. You need to board the Meg sex scene. All right. I'll see what I can do.
Seth. Yeah, you're like, hold on, Seth. I got to work on this drawing of Isabel having sex with literally everyone. And he's like, but Tom, please, I need this. I need the views. He called his fucking, people on Disney viewers.
Look, man, the guy who made Bob's Burgers has me on the other line because he saw my fucking... What's the mom from Bob's Burgers name?
I like how you're playing him now. Why'd you play him like a fiddle? Why'd you play fucking Seth MacFarlane like a damn fiddle?
I didn't. I'm just saying, like, I drew fucking
or
all
is
these
that what
characters,
happened?
And like they're trying to get like Bob's Burger creator is trying to get me to come work for him because he saw my.
Did the American Dad people call you up
porn.
too?
Yeah, the American Dad people. Hold on, Seth. Seth's got me on the other line.
Yeah, well, Seth would have dibs overall, I think, because he created the idea of a funny haha family. So,
really, because
yeah, he's the one who created it all.
Wait 1 second.
Wait, hold on. Who's on the other line, Tom?
Who's that on the other line? Matt Groening.
Matt Grainstain or something? I don't know his name. Something or other like that.
Matt, is that you? Hold on, I got Seth on the other line.
Is that Matt Pat or is that Matt Grain?
Matt Grinning. Who? Groening, however it's pronounced.
Matt grinning his ear, grinning ear to ear. Matt grinning.
He's asking. He saw the Marge porn I drew, and now he wants me on his team.
No, it's impossible.
It's
Matt
impossible.
Groening is Matt running around making that cool fairy tale anime on Netflix.
Is he?
That's really cool and funny. Yeah, actually,
I guess it is
kind
his
of
art
is.
style.
Yeah,
I always forget that's like the Matt Groening art style.
It's whatever. It's an okay show. It's better than most, but it's trying to fucking capture that same shit that's never gonna happen again. That lightning in the bottle shit. With the Simpsons and Futurama. It's a sad state of affairs, I'll say, Tom, watching fucking them reanimate Futurama and them having cool Bitcoin jokes.
What do you... Yeah, like after Bitcoin is like no longer even relevant.
Relevant, yeah. It was hilarious. It was hilarious when they used Rubits to mine Bitcoin. Yeah, they're pretty creative on pretty creative on that Futurama show. The fact that they're doing a Bitcoin mining joke in a mining town is pretty hilarious. I hoot and holler.
To be fair, the joke of Futurama has always been, it's 1,000 years in the future, and yet everything is super topical.
Yeah, well, I think that was in the later seasons.
Was it? Because I feel like they did that joke like. He in like the first couple episodes, like he pops out of like the thing, and they're like, it's 2000, it's the year 3000. It's exactly the same as the celebrations for 2000.
Yeah, I mean, there's some bits and stuff like that.
I haven't watched
it's
much
strange,
of it, but
it's strange, Tom, because you can clearly tell the writers that were like the fucking MIT people, and like writers that were just like the rehires because they couldn't, because all the MIT people left again.
I love that The Simpsons and like Futurama are just full of weird, ultra like specific math jokes that you would never get if you weren't like a mathematician. Like
Oh yeah, like that fucking Homer bit where he puts on the glasses. He's like, the square root of an isosceles triangle is this, this, and this. And then the fucking guy in the bathroom's like, no, it's not, you fucking moron.
Yeah. Or like one of my favorites are this is a deep cut. Oh man, what is it called? Fermat's last theorem. In like the 90s, the biggest question in mathematics was Fermat's last theorem. It was basically like, can you make it so that the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Fermat's last theorem was, can you have a cubed plus b cubed equals c cubed, and where a, b, and c are all whole numbers. As it turns out, you can't do it. It's not possible. But that was proven in like the mid to late 90s. And so episodes of The Simpsons would have jokes in the background where they would have like fucking some number. It would be like 1,732 cubed plus 1,352,746 cubed equals this, and it would be another whole number. And then, people would see that just hidden randomly in the background of an episode, would grab their calculator, their like 1993 calculators, type that in, and it would say the right number. It would be correct. And they'd be like, what? What? But that's like an unsolved problem. Did they just solve it and like put it in the background of an episode of Simpsons? And as it turns out, no. The reason it worked was because it's a near miss. It was only off by like 0.0000000012335
so it looked
whatever.
correct.
So the calculators wouldn't have enough like sig figs to tell.
Yeah.
And it was just, it's like, who would ever get that other than like other MIT students and shit? But they just put it in because it's fun. There was two of those. There was one where he's like
they
in
had like
cyberspace
MIT and like
another where
Stanford people in their writing rooms. They had like MIT and Stanford people in their writing rooms, which goes to show, Tom, that if Einstein was around to this day, he would be writing for The Simpsons. So
he probably would. Like fucking what's his name? Stephen Hawking appeared on like tons of shows because he just liked it. Like I think didn't he appear on like The Big Bang Theory all the time or something?
Oh, dude, fucking all the fucking time on The Big Bang Theory. It's weird how many cameos he made where it was just like him, but they were Skyping him. Because that's the easiest way to fucking have Stephen Hawking be in your show. Yeah.
Just because he liked like communicating with the public. I really wonder, you brought this up I think the other day, I really wonder like if they had Stephen Hawking like in a cartoon or something, would they have him actually come in to record his lines, or would they just use the text-to-speech bot? I think they would have him come in and do the lines.
It'd be the genuine article. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because like think of all the money you'd have to waste with the Foley, the voice acting, the fucking voice sequencing, when you could just have the real guy type it out. So yeah, if you think about it logistically, it costs less money to have Stephen Hawking.
I actually wonder, is the Stephen Hawking like voice bot available? Can you just use that, or is it like proprietary?
No, it's the speak and spell. You just grab a speak and spell, and that's Stephen Hawking's voice, dude. Everybody knows that. Just get your local speak and spell out, and that's literally Stephen Hawking's voice. It's so true. No, it's not. I think it was one of the early forms of people being able to like speak who were disabled, because I knew a few people that had to use like tablets or just like numpads and shit to like talk to people, and so it tended to be it was the same fucking audio Microsoft Sam bullshit, just like a robot voice.
I wish Stephen Hawking was Microsoft Sam. I can't believe
He kind of sounds like it.
I can't believe they imprisoned his soul in the internet so that it could be used to create other voice AIs.
Well, that's where all the AIs come from, Tom. That's every question being asked on like ChatGPT is actually Stephen Hawking answering it to you through his Mindscape that they downloaded his whole being onto the internet.
I've had Stephen Hawking read a lot of porn.
Well, he likes it. Can you believe that guy cheated on his wife somehow? It begs the question. It begs the question to you, viewer. Why haven't you cheated on your wife besides being a loving husband and or wife? Think about that.
I'm just thinking of the apparatus he would need. He has a crane that like lifts him up and lowers him back down repeatedly.
Yeah. We all need a wife first. That's M. That's M in the chat.
Can we get M's in the chat?
No. Can we get M&M's in the chat? I'm really hungry.
It's
I'm really
Matt.
hangry.
Matt doesn't have a wife. He'll die alone. That's the message of this podcast.
Matt Groening?
Yeah, Matt Groening's in the chat. He's begging for a wife. He wants to bring Marge to the real world.
He could just get like a mail order bride from like literally anywhere. He has all the money in the world. He could buy a candy room if he wanted.
I wish.
Tom, when we get famous and popular, we're gonna have a candy room.
Yeah,
but it's only gonna be where I live.
Is that Gabe Newell? Who is that? Who's the billionaire that has the candy room?
It's the guy who made Minecraft.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Simple mix-up.
Mojang.
Mr. Mojang.
Mr. Mojang. Mr. Mojang. Mr. Mojang. Why do you
Mr.
wear
Mojang,
that
Mr. Mojang! Why did you sell your company to Microsoft? Well, you see, I got bored.
I wanted to make
Minecraft.
another Minecraft game.
I wanted to build a candy room. Come with me.
I wanted to build the Candy Kingdom, much like from not that show.
In a world of pure imagination. It's like all of Minecraft.
I was leaning more towards the fucking Candy Kingdom from Adventure Time, but that's cool too, Tom.
I had that idea in my head first.
No, yeah, you did.
Not the Candy Kingdom. This is why Tom's
the idea guy.
The Willy Wonka idea. Do you want it to be creative?
Do you think he has a Willy Wonka factory?
Yeah, I think he fucking trapped Oompa Loompas to make Minecraft.
There is a lot of short people in Minecraft now that I think about it. Like, Steve's not that tall. He's Oompa Loompa size. Come on.
The fucking... After they were done making Minecraft, he imprisoned their souls in the game and created the villagers.
Yeah, much like the Bite of 87, much like FNAF, and much like Teddy Tasbin's Hotel of Terror. That's my favorite one. That's not a real one. I made that up.
The Tower of Terror.
Yeah, Teddy's Tower of Terror. That's my my fake creepypasta / AMV /
Ted
cool
2's
video game.
Ted 2's Tower of Terror.
That was my favorite ride at Six Flags.
Ted 2's Box Office Fright.
You have to go up and then watch Ted 2, and then you get dropped after watching it for 2 hours straight.
Well, what happens is you like go up like the lift, and then at the top you watch the video of Seth MacFarlane going, "It was just a jab. It was just a jab at another show. Simpsons can make fun of us all the time, but we can't just have a subtle little, a little joke.
We can't have Marge getting raped by Glenn Quagmire,
by Quagmire, and him killing,
and then liking
family.
It in the next cut. That's bullshit. This is bullshit.
And then killing your entire family. It's just a little lighthearted jab, and then it drops. As you go around the corner, you see like the Ted 2 logo come on screen, and it drops.
And then you see Seth.
That's
IRL.
Real, Matt. That's real, Matt.
That is real.
There's an interview.
Yeah.
There's a scene from Family Guy where like Quagmire literally rapes Marge and then fucking kills her whole family.
Yeah,
that's a real thing. And then
it's a
they removed it from the like television airing broadcasts of the show, and he went on like an interview, like a
tirade.
DVD interview or something, where he like ranted about, it's so annoying. Why did they make me cut that out of the show? These Fox executives, they're too attached to their Simpsons show. It's like, no, it's because it was a horrible, like, evil joke.
It was an evil rape joke. Yeah, it was during the time when fucking Family Guy loved doing those dumb skits where it's just like, those like weird TV ad pop-ups. That's like, the next show coming up is Friends. It's like they would just act. They did. They did a fair amount in like the earlier seasons. I want to say like season 3 or something, but that was one of them where it's just like, next up, the Simpsons. But then like Glenn Quagmire comes out and like starts to rape Marge.
Why do you say his full name? Glenn Quagmire.
What, Glenn Quagmire? Because I want the Glenn Quagmire show, Tom. Is that so hard to ask? We had the Cleveland show. We had Family Guy. Now I want the Glenn Quagmire show.
What if the Quagmire show comes out and it's like, it's just It's just the Cleveland show again. It goes, da, da, da,
I'd be happy.
My name is Glenn Quagmire.
My name is Glenn Quagmire.
And I'm here to say.
Yeah. I'm back in my hometown with no family to say.
No, he moves in with his, like, gay dad.
His 2 gay dads.
Yeah. He moves in with his
That's
2 not
also
gay
trans.
dads.
Yeah. Remember that? Topical.
Yeah, topical. Like some show from, like, the 80s.
I love my 2 dads. Yeah, anyone out there who's ever watched My 2 Dads, hit me up. Good show.
The My 2 Dads fandom is frothing at the mouth right now. This is the biggest thing.
Dude, we have.
Honestly,
yeah.
If there was a fandom for two gay dads, fucking.
It's not 2 gay dads. It's 2 dads. They're not gay. They explain that in the opening intro. Tom, you're not a fan.
2 homosexual dads. Yeah. Like, this is probably the biggest thing that's happened to them in literally 20 years.
I don't see why they don't remake the show where they're actually gay. Think about that, Hollywood execs.
Because then
reboot it, but they're actually gay.
But then it wouldn't even be the same, like, premise.
Well, yeah, that's the funny part, because it'd be the reverse, right? Where in 2 dads, everyone thinks they're gay and they make jokes about it, but in the verse is they don't think they're gay, they think they're not gay and they're just custody weird. But no, they're actually gay dads.
What if it actually? No, I have a better idea. What if it's exactly the same premise, where, like, the 2 dads aren't together, but also coincidentally separate from that, they are also they're both gay. They just, the other one, like, their lover isn't, like, part of the show.
They each have, they have different gay couples. Like, one of them could be, like, the stable one who actually has, like, a good, solid relationship, but the other one is, like, a swinger that always, like, goes out for, like, young men, and it's, like, it could be topical, because you have the 2 sides of the gay coin, the gay dad coin.
One of them gets caught up in the fappening.
Yeah.
The other one...
Tom, we should stop talking about...
What?
Tom, we gotta stop talking about this. We gotta give this to the Hollywood execs. We're making big money right now.
I was gonna say
we can't have people steal this.
The other one gets caught on the Epstein flight logs.
The Epstein flight log. Which one would that be? Would it be the dad or the swinger guy?
It would be it would be the normal one. That's like you don't expect
the normal one. Oh yeah, because it's like why would he be cheating on his gay husband?
Because he's an elite.
Not the other guy. Yeah. It's because he's a rich doctor, and that's why he has a stable relationship. It's all about money at the end, huh? That's what he says.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the first season.
He goes on the Joe Rogan podcast
gets sent to prison.
And talks about it.
Yeah, he talks about being on the flight logs. Everyone enjoys money, I think. But...
And then we bring Matt from the chat on the show and execute him live on television.
You can only do that in ISIS territories, Tom, and then have it filmed by the CNBC.
We say, you get what you fucking deserve!
This isn't an ISIS heading video, it's just like a normal one. It's weird.
Is that Matt talking? This isn't... What are you guys doing? This isn't like an ISIS video. Like, what the hell? I'm not even wearing an orange jumpsuit.
What the hell, guys? This is not an ISIS beheading video gives tape to fucking CNBC. This isn't an ISIS heading video. It's just normal. It's just normal. It's normal to behead people.
This is my impression of Matt. What the hell, guys? Like, what are you guys talking about?
Why am I in an Arabian desert? This don't make no sense.
What? Yeah. This is retarded. By the way, Spark,
yeah, we shouldn't threaten to kill our audience members by cutting their heads off in ISIS territory.
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Because we'll have one less viewer, and we'll be one less viewer from being able to make it big.
This episode we'll have 1 view instead of 2.
Yes, this is the podcast happening right now. Tom, did you draw that on the podcast?
Yeah, of course.
Damn it, I'm going to have to censor so much out.
I also drew a giant cock.
I'm going to have to censor so much out. I'm going to have to... At least this will be, by the time you're listening to this, we might have a Patreon out where you can just watch all the porn happening.
By the way,
that'd be fun.
Wait, oops! I put the penis back on screen. Whoopsie daisy.
That doesn't matter. I have to fucking censor it out.
So, Spark, when you're censoring these, you said you're just blurring the whole screen, right? You're not like putting the effort to hide like the tits and the pussy.
what's gonna happen is, for the viewers at home, I haven't done this with that specific episode that shall not be named, but I will be doing this in future episodes where basically the camera will just view back into the little cool screen of us talking, right? So that way, or I can have the camera just pan over or just do something interesting. But for the most part, it'll just be like, it'll be out of frame, so it'll just be naturally blurry based on like how cameras work in real life. So it'll look normal, it'll look natural, but you'll get an idea of the shape, but you won't know what it is. So
Matt,
yeah,
we
look forward to that.
Matt, this is our 14th episode we're recording right now, and we just released episode 5 today.
Yep, that one has a funny not nip slip, but it does have a cool COCK slip. But it's nothing major. It's not like a massive girthy one, so it's like I think it's more than tame for YouTube. Like, it's hard to tell. It looks more like a leg.
It won't pass. It looks more like a leg. That sounds pretty substantial. I don't think it'll make it because he's not jelking. So they'll be like, wait a minute. Why isn't that man... he has his cock out. Oh,
the tip doesn't slip out.
What's wrong, sir? Well, he's not stroking it and moaning. Wait, what?
It's not at full mass. Wait, what? He's not jelking it? No, sir, he's not jelking it. What do you mean he's not jelking it? What
is this depravity?
I don't...
Get this off the platform!
I don't know what... It's art. It's art, I think. Art that's not educational is worthless.
This is not educational content.
And then he sees the Spider-Man and Elsa videos. He's like, I need more pictures of Spider-Man! And then you realize it's just J. Jonah Jameson running YouTube.
Yeah,
that's why he had the Elsa fucking Spider-Man videos pop off.
After that stupid bitch left, like Wojcicki or whatever.
Weinstein or whatever.
Wojinkies.
Wojinkies, there goes my glasses. And then she would delete all the videos on accident. And then she would ask The Rock, "What should I make my YouTube about?" And then The Rock responds, "You just be yourself, Wojcicki. Just be yourself."
Didn't she
remember that video?
Why would you ask The Rock? Like he's not a fucking YouTuber.
He's the best YouTuber. He's like Bo Burnham.
He's like a corporate puppet. And I don't even mean that
Bo Burnham.
I don't even mean that in the fucking edgy punk way. I mean of most celebrities, The Rock is one of the ones that is himself the least. He's just hi, I'm here to promote KFC. Goodbye.
Hold on, Tom. You're saying when he was on the burning aisles of Hawaii promoting that you should spend more money supporting Hawaii rather than, I don't know, him donating to his own cause or maybe the government helping out as they tend to should be? Well, you were of the opinion that he was some weird corporate puppet?
No,
that seems a little far-fetched.
I want to say, I'm not even making a judgment on him as a person because...
No, you're absolutely right.
Because he did donate a shit ton, I think over $1 million to the writer's strike, and basically paid all those salaries for 6 months. That's huge. That's a good thing he did. It's just that when he's on camera as a person, he's never him. He's just he's got McDonald's hand up his ass or something.
Don't even get it flipped, viewers, because truth be told, I respect The Rock in the fact that he's making bank on the fact that he's in the limelight concurrently. It's much in this, much in the same way as how the fucking governor of California, what the fuck is it? Why am I blanking on his name? Arnold Schwarzenegger. Much like how he made bank off of just his namesake and being able to make money and become a governor of California and all that shit. The Rock's doing the same thing, and more power to them because it means that they can actually make more money, and whether that means making a difference or just saving it. And,
I was gonna compare him to Shaq, which is interesting because Shaq is a mid-level celebrity, whereas The Rock is
not in the sports community, Tom.
I guess that's fair.
He's a pretty big deal.
But I mean, in the world of celebrities, The Rock is one of... He's probably among the top 5 biggest celebrities in the world right now.
Mm-hmm. He's in everything.
But he's doing what Shaq does, which is you put a product in front of him and he will promote it. He doesn't give a shit. There was that thing that happened recently where every year or so he'll pretend this is my first time going to Burger King. I've never gone to Burger King before. But he's like done that exact promotion with Burger King like 3 times.
Yeah, I don't think any of these people are stupid because like if you see Shaq, like he's got like that's I think that's the most impressive thing about like Shaq or just any of these like celebrities that do make it big is like they do make it big, but then they reinvest their money in themselves where it's like they get an education, they proceed to like have a more stable career that isn't just like trying to get that acting gig. Like for Shaq, for instance, is that he's not only was he like an amazing athlete just because of his like build and prowess and just training, but also he's like really in tune with the sport that he likes, and so he became like a broadcast fucking talker about shit that was happening, and that's how you get so many cool just like little clips and snippets of like Shaq talking about a b-ball game with other co-hosts and being like, because he knows his craft, so it just makes sense for him to rework it into that, as well as the fact that he got an education on top of that, and then learned like how to market himself to make more money. Like that's what you should do in any field, honestly.
This is a real piece of advice, just learning to manage your money outside of just like it's not just getting a big good income, it's also being able to manage it. I think that there's a famous interview with Shaq where they're talking about like he's like, when I got my first paycheck working for the NFL, right? And he's like, I spent all of it in a day. I bought like a sport. I went out to the dealer. I think the story was I went out to the dealership and I bought myself like a Lamborghini, right? I bought myself a sports car. And I got home and my dad saw it and he was like, that's crazy. So I was like, okay. I drove out, bought another sports car for my dad, came home, drove out, bought another sports car for my mom, came home, realized, oh shit, I've spent literally all of my money that I just made, and now even though I have 3 Lamborghinis, I'm broke. So then the next thing he did was get a financial planner. And it was just like, okay, you deal with my money, because I clearly can't handle it.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say this much, if you guys are worried about like weird fucking Wolf of Wall Street shit happening with your money, that doesn't happen anymore because we have laws put into place to stop that shit from happening.
But there are
no,
ways
it doesn't come.
Yeah, 100% does.
Well, yeah, but
crypto. What I mean is,
well, crypto's not fucking. It's not even governed by the. That's the whole point of crypto. Still, it's not governed by anything.
What I mean is that there's still stock scammers, 100%.
Yeah, but there's laws against them now.
Look,
where
here's
it's like
the difference.
You can't put,
Wolf of Wall Street was ripping off people in a way that is much easier to avoid now. Like, that was not... If you were getting scammed by Jordan Belfort, it wasn't because you went, I want to put my money in a fucking, like, S&P 500 mutual fund, or, like, I'm going to put $500 in Amazon. The people who were getting scammed by Jordan Belfort were largely the same kinds of people that were getting scammed by, like, crypto today. People that are like, I want to make big money fast, and I want to like skip my way to the end. Because Jordan would get on the phone and say, like, this company's going to quadruple in value, and you're going to make so much money. I think it's
safe to say, Tom, that a financial advisor who invests in crypto is not even a financial advisor. No,
what I'm saying is there are still like people, look at Coffeezilla videos. There's still people that are doing stock shit. It's illegal, but they're still fucking doing it. They just say, not financial advice, and no one sues them.
Yeah, well, yeah, because that's the thing. If you're a financial advisor, you can get fucking lambasted if you give someone... Here's the thing, right? The law that's been put into place as of now is if you are...
Oh, are you talking about hiring a financial advisor? Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm not talking about fucking seeking dumbass advice from internet celebs. I'm talking about real financial advisors.
You can still get fucked over, but not in the same way.
Yeah, but needless to say, there are laws put into place now where they cannot put their own interest above yours, and if there is proof of them doing that, then you can sue them out the ass and win a vast majority of money from them for being real douchebags for trying to make a quick buck off of your investments.
But sue them with what money? That's the problem.
Anyways, be careful with your money. Yeah. Tom's a dumbass and doesn't have a financial advisor. Neither do I. But the ones I do know are not assholes.
I always feel really... there's so many people that will point at people like, oh, this guy won the lottery and he, like, fucking spent it all in 6 weeks.
He sucked his own cock.
And I always feel really bad for those people because it's usually people who have no financial background and don't know how to use their money. Because what will happen to a lot of those people is they'll like try to get a financial advisor, and then that financial advisor will just suck them dry and just steal all their money, and they won't even realize it. They'll just be like, "Oh, all my money is gone," and because they know nothing about money, they're just like, "Well, I guess it was fun while it lasted. All right, we'll go move on." Or like,
truth be told, if you win the fucking lottery,
what?
I was just gonna say, truth be told, if you do win the lottery, you should fucking pay off your debts and have like at least a physical asset like a house. And then after that, I just save all that fucking money. Like, there's not much you need to do with that kind of money if you do win the lottery.
Well, I mean, there kind of is. Like for example, you would want to put it in either a savings account that gives you like 4% interest, or like some kind of index fund. You want to put the money somewhere where it's paying you like returns in the future.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like, I know a lot of people say like make your fucking money work for you, but the money can only work so fucking hard. And at the end of the day, I think if you do win the lottery, you should still keep your fucking job, and you should keep that shit on the hush hush and just be like, you know what? Now that I have financial security, I'll use that to my advantage, whether it be paying off student loans slowly but surely, or paying off a house, or paying off a car. Not like buying a fucking Lamborghini. You should pay off the car that you have, because if you try to live this like vicarious expensive life, that comes with the caveat of, well, you have to pay taxes for that vicarious life. You have to pay insurance for that vicarious life, and that adds up like a shit ton over time because it's just compounding like month to month.
If I won, like, if I suddenly had like $500 million in my bank account, like, I'm pretty sure I would mostly live the same life I'm living now. I would just have a slightly bigger, slightly nicer house, and have a few people that come once a month to clean it for me, and that's basically all that would change.
Well, I could clean your house for you, Tom, and live there, and we could animate like cool pilots and shows and stuff.
Yeah, you know what? If I had that much money, I'd definitely just be like, "Hey, you want to fucking live with me, and we'll have an art like flop house."
I would love and hate that, Tom, because I'd have to. Here's what I'll say for anyone who wants to do.
I would make sure the house was big enough that we could scream and fucking record in different rooms and not hear each other.
It's not even that, Tom. It's like, for anyone who's like, I'm gonna get a warehouse like Red Letter Media, and we're gonna like do a job, or it's like, I'm gonna do a sleepy cabin, and we're all gonna have a cool like warehouse where we do shit. It's like, I don't know. It tends to be like. Especially with this fucking podcast, it's the proof's in the pudding, where it's like you don't need like a space to interact with each other. It helps, but it's not necessary for the creative endeavor. And so that's why I like doing the whole artist meetup things like once a week, because a group that I really like, who's a rapist group called EXO, do the kind of same thing, same vibe I'm doing, where group? It's like a rapist group. They rap at people a lot. But it's called EXO Society, and what they've recently been doing is either they'll go on tour, which is nice, but they'll also just go to a nice little Airbnb in the middle of nowhere, and they'll just vibe out with each other because they don't live close to each other. They're all like spread out because they're like internet famous. And so they'll just go to a nice Airbnb for like a week, see trees, nice foliage and stuff, and just make a whole load of shit, because it tends to be a lot easier to share files and like ideas and concepts and rework stuff when you just have the person in front of you to like redo the take. Yeah. So in that sense, it's really handy.
I think I would benefit a lot from having like living with a roommate who's also artistic. I think that I would gain a lot from just having someone in my real physical space to bounce off of. By the way, I want to mention this is. To very briefly go back to the actual topic of this episode, like just advice for artists. Yeah. Matt says, I want to be more active in this server just so I can be more active with my art too. Like, for real, that would help a lot. And I agree with that completely. It's like having a place to upload your art, have it just, even if it's like a Discord server like this, it doesn't have to be. I recommend just throwing your stuff up on Twitter. But like, even if you don't want to do that and you just want to have like a Discord server or something, having a place to just put your stuff helps so much, so that you're just getting it out there and people are seeing it and responding. Not even for like the self-esteem boost of like getting compliments, but just getting responses, getting something that isn't from your own brain as input. is very nice.
Yeah, I had the same experience when I was starting to learn 3D modeling because I used Pico CAD, which is this handy little 3D modeling low poly tool that's a lot of fun to work with. And I literally just joined the server of the guy who invented the fucking program to begin with, and I was like, this could be handy. And it's actually a really handy fucking Discord server because all the people on it care more about the program than they do about the guy who made it.
Mhm.
So what ends up being happening is much like this server where people care more about the art rather than the person who made the server. It becomes a lot more fluid, and it's like it's not about
Yeah.
the creator, it's about the creators, right?
Yeah,
It's
that's
about
kind of what
everyone
I
else
try
on
to
the
do with this
server.
server. That's why, I mean, the cat's out of the bag now, but I try not to talk about the fact that I own the server, and most people don't even realize it until, like, pretty late in.
Wait, hold on, Tom. Wait, hold on. You own this? Wait, you
Yeah.
made this server? That kind of
Yeah.
makes you fucking lame. You own a Discord server? Hold on.
Well, guess
You
what?
lost like 10 friendship points.
Guess what? You're a Discord mod, so.
Wait, hold on. Looks at camera, looks at self, looks at profile pic. Hold on, wait a minute.
Sees beard
No.
glowing, fedora falls on their head from off screen.
No!
But,
yeah, that's sad.
yeah, Matt, that's exactly what I'm going for. I don't want people to know. I like it when it's just, I get to just be a member of the server like everyone else.
It's handy.
But, like, that's another thing Matt mentioned.
And you get scammed like everyone else. It's really fucking funny.
Wait, what did you say?
You get scammed like everyone else, where it's just like a guy who's like, I'm new to the server. I saw you on the server. You want to check out my fucking pin twist? And it's like, okay. And it turns out to just be a scammer bot.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is funny.
Also, I should mention, Matt says they want to do more events, and I agree. We need to get back to doing server events. We haven't done that in a little while. I'll throw something together.
I'm gonna get on
simple.
top of that.
I'll throw a nice, simple prompt together, maybe for this weekend. Just be like, hey, guys, draw fucking, I don't know, draw furry characters. Choose an animal that doesn't usually get furry-fied and do that. I don't know. That's pretty typical of the furry stuff, but whatever.
Our biggest thing with this server, I'll say, that we really do want to get better at is just having like, just having like a once a week just like thing that you do, because I think that's a huge major incentive for like a vast majority of artists is just like having a prompt so they don't even have to think about it. And
it's
that's a
part of why it's fun is because it's fun to see a bunch of other people drawing the same stuff you are all at once. It makes it feel more collaborative and communal.
I wanted to do like an itch.io thing, but I don't know. It's just I've been so busy with the fucking podcast that I can't invest more time into. I probably could. It's just because what I would want to do in that light is draw the thing that everyone is that the prompts around, and then have like a little description of the event, and then have that happen once a week.
Yeah,
which isn't impossible. It's just more work on top of the stuff I'm already doing.
That was something I felt kind of bad about. Like I can't remember if it was like a Father's Day event or what it was, but we had an art event a little while back that I didn't end up participating in. Like I just didn't draw anything for it, and it was because I like was in like a major art slump. Like I was in an art block and hadn't drawn for like 2 months or something. But I still felt really bad because it was like, fuck, like I'm the owner of the server. I'm the person who made the event. I posted like the event thing, and I didn't even draw for it. Like that's
why you got to make the art first and then do the event.
I like to, like I said, just like how I like to be a member of the server, I like to participate in the events just like everyone else and submit something. The reason that was like that was just because I was in an art block. Which I am no longer, luckily. But you know what? Maybe sometime we can talk about art block, like next like Tuesday or something. Because there's a lot of things.
I can't do that, Tom. Because I can't think of anything. Like I got a huge block in my head. I can't think of nothing. I
can't think of any ideas right now. I don't know. If only there was some kind of word for this or something.
Some sort of like block of sorts.
But yeah, like that kind of thing. Like it made my art block a little bit worse because I was just so upset about like, I didn't even draw for this thing. Now I don't want to draw for other things because it's this weird thing of like. I don't know if you've had this experience. I had this because I procrastinate really bad in school, where I would like, because I was not doing one piece of schoolwork, I wouldn't do other pieces of schoolwork too, because I was like, well, I have to finish this big thing, or like, if I don't finish this one big thing, like the other stuff doesn't matter. But I'm also not working on the big thing, so I just end up working on nothing. I feel like it's a slightly similar effect with art block, where I feel bad for not doing the event, and that compounds to me just being like, well, now I don't want to do fucking anything because I failed at doing that. So when I come back, I have to do something significant, which is not the case at all.
You know what it is, Tom? So I do the opposite because I don't want to have that feeling to begin with. So the reason I don't like lambast and go like, we're going to have an art event, we're going to have an art event this week or next week or the next week after that, is because I know for a fact I probably can't deliver on it if I even made it yet. So that's why I'm saying, like, I need to make the art of what the prompt is first for me to even have a major incentive to even post and be like, hey guys, this is the prompt for the week. So that's my headcanon, right? It's the same thing with college when, like, I was taking like 27 credited hours, which was day and night classes. So it was stupid. But at the end of the day, I found like I was having a little bit too much stuff I had to do, and I was accomplishing them all meteorically. I was getting C's everywhere, but I knew that I would have to just cut a class out of my life and get an F in it so that the rest of my grades could actually like stay stable above like a C or a B. And so I just looked at the math and I was like, this is a 1 credited class where I'm doing too much work for how little it actually gives me in the long run. So I just cut it from my life, and then everything else kind of raises to the top because you're wasting less time on something that, for the most part, is very small and has very little impact. And to me, the podcast is more important to me than an event like once a week. And even though I would much like to do the event once a week thing, it's just I need to get better at streamlining the podcast process so that I can allocate more time to that. On top of the fact that I have like a whole social life I'm trying to figure out right now. So, you know, swings and roundabouts, but it's stuff to think about, especially when you're an artist.
I think the reason it felt particularly bad was because when I do events, I have very low standards for myself. I'm like, it's for fun, so I'm just gonna draw like a sketch like I always do anyway. But then because it's for an event, I get that like that, you know, because it's for something that isn't just getting an idea out of my head, the procrastination thing takes over. Or in that, more often it's just because I was in an art block at the time. I'm better about it, like, lately. But, you know, that procrastination thing takes over, and I'm like, even though it's just a doodle, all I have to do is a doodle. Whenever I sit down to try to do that doodle, I can't do it. It's weird.
Yeah, you just got to prevent those weird negative feedback loops, which is why it's important to cut things from your life that you just can't feasibly do all the time, because it's just like you already have so much on your plate to begin with. It's like it's understandable to be like, I need to cut this thing so that the rest of everything else can flourish. It's the same thing with fucking flowers and shit. It's like you cut the fucking dying bud because the plant's going to waste time trying to fix it when you know for a fact it's just going to waste more energy trying to fix it, and then the rest of the plant's going to die because of it. So you just cut it off at the bud, and then you know what happens when you split and cut it, it flourishes even better than before because it's not worried about fixing something that's already broken.
Matt brings up a really good thing right now in the chat. They say, I get the same when I get commission, and I feel bad about it because money is involved. That's with me with commissions. Like, even I'm doing $5 commissions right now to get myself back in like the swing of things, with low stakes. But I still get that little inkling in the back of my mind of like worrying too much about it and like trying too hard, even though it's like they're paying for my art style. They've seen what I've drawn. I sent them example images of my sketches. They know exactly what they're getting in return for the money, and it's only $5. But even then, I'm taking, like, a little bit longer than I really should, because I'm trying harder and making mistakes because of that, getting stiff, spending time thinking about the commission instead of actually doing the commission, and it's like...
You're getting into your own head.
I'm only getting,
it's that fucking...
Like, the one I'm doing right now, it's a sex pose, so it's like, instead of $5, it's like $15. It's 2 characters and like a pretty relatively somewhat complicated pose. Nothing I can't handle though. But I've sat on that commission for like almost a week now. Partially, I mean, some of those days were just because of work and school, but some of those days were definitely because I was like, oh man, how do I make this thing look right? I have to really think about.
It's been a week, Tom.
Good, and it's like
you're falling into bad habits.
It's like it's $15, and it's 2 characters fucking. Like I can draw that. That at least isn't procrastination, but it's like a very close neighbor to procrastination.
It'll turn into it.
It's like
it'll turn into it if you let it.
How do I draw this? Oh my god, what pose will it be? Should I do warm up drawings before, or should I just go right into it?
It's funny, Tom, because it's not necessarily choking, because what happens in like baseball terms, or just like in sports in general, that's what you would call someone who fails, who's like peaked at what they do. It's called choking. But that's not necessarily what's happening, Tom, because you're not on you're not even on like a necessary like timeline, or like you need to catch this ball right away. It's like you have all the time in the world, so there is no sense in choking over what is essentially something you can do anytime you want.
Well, that's why it's stressful. It's because there is no stated time limit.
There's no stakes.
Which means that, like, there are reasonable time limits. You know, if this takes me over, like, if this goes for, like...
If it takes you a month, Tom, I'm going to shake my head.
It won't take me a month. I know it won't do that. The furthest it could possibly go, which it won't because I'm going to do it this weekend, would be, like, 2 weeks. If it went that far, that would be the point, I think, at which it's been too long. Like, after 2 weeks, you have to apologize and be like, I'm sorry it took so long, here's your drawing. And if you go longer than 2 weeks, it's just like, dude, come on. It's a doodle.
Truth be told, Tom,
you're selling a $5 doodle.
I think it's a bit silly that you can't get it done in one. I'm going to laugh at you.
Oh, I will do it in one. You know, I think I got the commission, like, on Tuesday or something. So, it's taken me longer than it should have. But, you know, I have... Like, I wasn't going to do it on Monday or Wednesday because...
Yeah, that's fair.
I had work in school. I worked really late on... We did the podcast on Tuesday. I should have done it on Thursday, to be honest, but like, I was just fucking wiped out from work.
Work-life balance.
Yeah.
Truth be told, I do the same thing, Tom, but I always get my deadlines done because
that's the thing. I don't have deadlines.
Yeah, you gotta make deadlines for yourself, Tom. Like I do with this podcast. For instance, like today, I got up really early so I could finish the thumbnail art, even though it wasn't. Yeah, it was kind of fine.
I liked
flat
it.
Colors. Who cares? Yeah, it's good. It's good for what it is, and that's what all it needs to be. Is it needs to be good for what it is, and that's. Yeah.
By the way, here's something that I think will really improve your thumbnail game. Is once you've drawn everything in with your flat colors, make a masking layer over the color layer.
I know.
And then
I know, Tom.
Just make it low opacity and choose the color of like the
I know,
the lighting.
Tom. I just didn't. I didn't do it for that last thumbnail because it was like 11:45, and I was like, I gotta upload this. I can't fuck around with.
I'm just saying. I don't know if you know how.
I did for the last thumbnail.
Yeah. Oh, you did?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me check it.
Fuck you, Tom. I know what I'm doing in art. I know all the fucking lingo and programming shit. Yeah. I didn't bother because I was like, it's like a midday thing, and flat colors kind of work for midday.
And also, to be fair, sometimes like letting it stand out and not doing that can help. Mm-hmm. Like I really like how my thumbnails look because the characters blend so nicely into the setting.
Yeah.
But sometimes it can also be good to let the characters stand out and be like very cartoony against the background.
Yeah. That was the goal. But also the goal was to get it done relatively faster than usual. I was pretty proud of it with just how quick I was able to do it, honestly, because I got up at fucking 8 or whatever, got my day ready, did all my farming chores, and then by 10 o'clock I was working on the thumbnail, and I spent an hour on it. Nothing crazy. But I have to do sketches, and then I have to do clean line art on top of that. It very rarely can I do clean line art from the get-go, especially when it's a new art style I'm trying to workshop. But it got done before the deadline, and that's all that matters to me. So, yeah.
That's why I like doing.
Speaking of deadlines, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna mention that's part of why I kind of like doing the thumbnail art, because I have a deadline, the upload date, and I have someone to actually keep me accountable for it. You. Whereas even if I set my own deadlines,
I don't bitch.
if I set my own deadlines, I wouldn't have anyone to keep me accountable for it, so I would just blow past the deadline. In fact, something I do in my head, which is something there's a lot of things I do that it's just kind of like I have to overpower it with just will. One of them is if I have a deadline set for myself, and I notice the deadline is approaching and I haven't done the thing yet, I will wait until the very last second to be like, I'm gonna just do it. It's on May 18th is when I'm supposed to finish this thing. Okay, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And then it's May 17th. I'll do it in an hour. I'll do it in 15 minutes. I'll do it in 5 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna go to sleep now. And as I'm going to sleep, I won't be like, I'll just do it tomorrow, like, on my deadline day. As I'm going to sleep, I will agree with myself, I'll make the deadline, like, May 20th. And then
that's not good, Tom.
May 20th will come, and I'll be like, I'll do it, like, by the end of the month. And
you know what that is, Tom? That's that fucking winter break mentality where it's like, can I please have a snow day so I can finish my homework? And then you get a snow day and you don't finish your fucking homework. Yeah. It's that bitch mentality.
But it's just bad because you're the one who gets to decide if there's a snow day or not. Because it's your own... There's no boss telling you like when you need to get it done. You are the boss. That's why I always said, like, I would love... I wish I was rich enough to, like, just hire a manager for myself. Just be like...
Well, that's why I am, Tom.
Have you finished your fucking commission? Okay, bend over the bed. I have to give you 15
viewers
lashes.
At home, I have to fucking hound Tom's ass just to fucking post the podcast sometimes.
A little bit.
Sometimes he's good about it. A little bit. I always like to remind him 3 times. Yeah. But, like...
I appreciate it, though.
Yeah, needless to say, because I understand how Tom kind of operates, it's fine. I'm more than content with, like, reminding him, like, fucking 10 times if it needs to be done. But, like, the reason why I have Tom do... I don't know if any of the viewers have noticed this yet, but the reason why Tom does all the even episodes is because the even episodes land on the render days for Tuesday. And for those who don't know, I work the weekend shift plus Monday, so that means drawing thumbnail art on top of rendering stuff is a pain in the ass. So if I get Tom to do the thumbnail art while I'm rendering all the videos during the weekend, it means I don't have to worry about fucking drawing thumbnails. And that's how I metagame my life, baby. So think about that. Anyways.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it gives me time to do the thumbnail art on the weeks because that's when Tom does all of his fucking work, but I'm completely free, so I'm more than happy to do art because I have all the free time in the world to do it. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. I know how to metagame life.
Put that in your coffee and jelk it.
Yeah. It's all about that weird small micromanaging shit that gives you an infinite amount of time to work on other stuff that really matters. Making time for art, that's what matters. Speaking of making time for art, I'm ending this fucking podcast. It's been 2 hours, Tom, and I need to work in the fucking Blender so I can render shit out, even distracting me by doing the podcast with me for free.